My journey began at Sialda railway station, Kolkata, in the evening. I reached quite early, so I decided to explore the station. With more than 20 platforms, Sialda was already crowded and busy. It was around 7 p.m. and people were rushing everywhere. I walked around the platforms, watching the trains, passengers, and the huge movement of luggage. I waited on platform number 14 for my train. Soon, it was time to begin the journey. My destination was Siliguri. The next morning, I reached Siliguri. The weather was cloudy and cool, and it felt like it could rain at any moment. Siliguri may have a small railway station, but it is an important gateway to North Bengal and Sikkim. Just opposite the railway station, I found the bus stand. There were buses going towards different parts of West Bengal and Sikkim. Before continuing my journey, I stopped for breakfast. I ordered aloo paratha with chutney. It was simple but absolutely delicious. After breakfast, I started searching for a vehicle to Gangtok. Finding a bus was not easy, but finally, I found a tempo traveler going to Gangtok. And then the real adventure began. I got a seat at the back of the vehicle. At first, everything was fine, but soon the journey became really uncomfortable. The roads were rough, the traffic was heavy, and sitting behind the Bolero was not easy at all. Honestly, it was one of the most uncomfortable journeys I had ever experienced. Finally, around 5 p.m., I reached Gangtok. After checking into my Hotel Sonar Tari, I took a quick bath and went out to explore the city. Since this trip was completely unplanned, I had not brought proper winter clothes. So, my first mission was to find some warm clothes. Gangtok immediately impressed me. The beautiful mountain city was clean, well-maintained and full of colorful flowers. The roads were busy and sometimes congested, but the views made everything worth it. I started walking towards Lal Bazaar. I had not eaten anything since my morning breakfast, so I stopped at a restaurant and ordered a special Chinese-style soup. It was hot, tasty, and perfect for the cool Gangtok evening. After that, I explored Lal Bazaar, one of the main markets of Gangtok. The market was spread across several floors and was full of shops and people. Later, I continued my evening walk. After walking for quite some time, I reached AMG Marg, one of the most famous places in Gangtok. The place looked beautiful with colorful lights, flowers, and decorations. People were enjoying the evening, shopping, eating, and simply relaxing. Standing there and looking at the surrounding mountains, I felt that the journey was already becoming special. But I had another mission. I needed to find a rental bike for the next day. My plan was to ride towards Nathula Pass, near the India-China border. I checked Google and finally found a bike rental shop near AMG Marg. I decided to rent a Royal Enfield Bullet. The bike was booked for the next morning. Now everything was ready for the next adventure. I spent some more time walking around AMG Marg and enjoying the beautiful Gangtok night. Later, I walked back to my hotel. It was finally time to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a big day. Gangtok to Nathula Pass. The real adventure was about to begin. The next morning, I woke up around 7 a.m. I had planned to get my rented bike by 8:30 a.m. So I had enough time to get ready and walk around a little. Even in the early morning, Gangtok looked incredibly clean and peaceful. The roads were almost empty, but most of the shops were still closed because it was too early. Before starting my journey, I decided to have some breakfast. After that, I finally went to collect my bike. And then, the real adventure was about to begin. I started riding towards Nathula Pass, towards the China border. The roads were narrow, steep and winding through the mountains. Every turn gave me a new view. The tall mountains, thick greenery, clouds floating around the hills, and the fresh mountain air made the ride absolutely beautiful. I was not just riding a bike, I was riding through the Himalayas. On the way to Nathula Pass, I came across several beautiful waterfalls. I stopped at many places, took photographs, and simply stood there enjoying the views. Sometimes, I didn't even feel like taking a photograph. I just wanted to stand there and look at the mountains. Everything was going perfectly until the weather suddenly changed. The sky became cloudy. Fog started covering the mountains, and soon it began to rain. The road became more challenging, but at the same time, the adventure became even more exciting. I continued riding, and then something completely unexpected happened. The snowfall. Snowflakes, snow-capped mountain. As I got closer to Nathula Pass, the rain slowly turned into heavy snowfall. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was summer in most parts of India, but here I was, somewhere high in the Himalayas, surrounded by heavy snowfall. The snow became so heavy that riding the bike was almost impossible. I had to stop at several small shops along the road, take some rest, and wait for a while. Almost all the vehicles had stopped. Cars and bikes were standing on the roadside because the snowfall was becoming too heavy. The army was also sending vehicles back because the conditions were becoming difficult. But honestly, I didn't want to give up. I had come this far, and I wanted to experience as much as possible. So I made what I now consider one of the most adventurous and probably one of the most foolish decisions of my journey. I decided to continue riding. The road was covered with snow, and I was still trying to go ahead on my rented bike. Looking back now, I know it was not the wisest decision, but at that moment, the feeling of adventure was stronger than the fear. The road had a slight slope in some places, and for a while, I was able to control the bike. I thought, maybe I can make it. But the situation became more difficult with every kilometer. The snow was everywhere. I could hardly stand properly on the road. Even when I stopped and tried to stand, I would lose my balance and fall. And then came the biggest problem. The bike started skidding. I had already slipped more than 4 times. The bike was rented, so every time it slipped, my heart would almost stop. I was worried about the bike. I was worried about myself. And most importantly, I was worried about getting back safely. At one point, I couldn't even think about taking photographs or recording videos. My camera and phone were almost useless in that heavy snowfall. I just wanted to control the bike. For a moment, I honestly felt like everything was going to go wrong. The mountains were covered in white, and the road was completely empty. It didn't feel like India anymore. It felt as if I had somehow reached another planet. I had never seen anything like that before. After trying to move forward for some time, I finally realized that I could not continue towards Nathula Pass. So I turned back. And honestly, coming back was even more frightening. While going up, I had the excitement of reaching somewhere new. But while coming down, I had only one thought in my mind. I need to get back safely. I rode very slowly. At one point, I stopped somewhere on the mountain and took a moment to calm myself. I checked the bike. I took a deep breath. I looked around at the mountains. Slowly, I started feeling that I had regained control. The bike was finally responding better to me. That was the moment when I felt a little confident again. Before that, it honestly felt like everything was over. But slowly, I started riding again. I could not reach Nathula Pass that day. And strangely, I wasn't disappointed because I had already experienced something I had never imagined. The cold was becoming unbearable. My gloves and socks were completely wet. I changed my gloves and socks more than 5 times during the journey, even though I had waterproof gloves. That moment, taking photographs was no longer my priority. Something hot to eat became my biggest priority. I just wanted some hot food, a warm place, and a little rest. After a long and difficult ride, I finally started moving back towards Gangtok. This time, I rode extremely slowly. I stopped at different places, rested whenever necessary, and simply enjoyed the incredible Himalayan scenery. The same mountains that had frightened me a few hours earlier were now giving me some of the most beautiful views I had ever seen. The roads were wet, the air was freezing, and yet there was something incredibly peaceful about the whole experience. I wasn't able to reach Nathula Pass, but I had experienced something much more unforgettable: a Himalayan snowfall in the middle of summer. By around 6 p.m., I finally reached Gangtok. I was tired, cold, and completely exhausted, but I was also incredibly happy. I returned the rented bike and finally thought, okay, now I deserve some good food. After such a long and difficult day, I ordered the famous Nepali thali. And honestly, it tasted amazing after spending hours in the cold, riding through snow, rain and fog. After dinner, I didn't want the day to end yet, so I went back to AMG Marg and spent the rest of the evening exploring Gangtok. The atmosphere was completely different from the morning. The quiet streets had now become lively. The lights were glowing, people were walking around, shops and restaurants were open. There was music, laughter, and the beautiful evening atmosphere of Gangtok. After spending the entire day in the mountains, I was now walking through the heart of the city. I walked for a long time, enjoying the nightlife. My tired body finally said, "That's enough for today." So, I returned to my room. That day, I saw some of the most beautiful scenes of my life. Sometimes the destination is not the most important part of the journey. Sometimes, the unexpected moments become the memories you carry forever. That night, as I finally closed my eyes, I knew one thing for sure. This was not just another day of my journey. This was the day the Himalayas tested me, scared me, amazed me, and gave me a memory that I would never forget. It was my third day in Gangtok, and today I had no big plans. I simply wanted to explore the famous Gangtok ropeway, do some shopping, walk through the local markets, and discover a few nearby places. But there was one thing that continued to amaze me: the beauty and cleanliness of Gangtok. The gardens, roads, markets, and even the small corners of the town looked so neat and well maintained. The cleanliness of Sikkim was something I truly appreciated. After a short morning walk, I once again reached AMG Marg, the heart of Gangtok. I stopped for a simple breakfast and a hot cup of tea. Sitting there in the cool mountain morning, watching people slowly begin their day, I felt that I had already started becoming a part of this beautiful mountain town. After breakfast, it was time for my first adventure of the day, the Gangtok ropeway. The moment the cable car started moving above the city, the view completely changed. Gangtok looked totally different from above. The green Himalayan valleys, mountains, winding roads and houses spread across the hills created a breathtaking picture. As the ropeway moved higher, I kept looking outside, trying to capture everything with my eyes. The mountains seemed endless, and the valleys looked so deep and beautiful. It was a short journey, but the experience was unforgettable. After enjoying the ropeway, I had another important task: to book my return ticket to Siliguri. The journey from Siliguri to Gangtok had been quite uncomfortable because I had traveled in a shared taxi. So this time, I decided to return by bus. I went to the bus stand and booked my ticket. With the important work done, I had the whole day to myself. I spent the rest of the day simply walking, exploring and enjoying Gangtok. I wandered through the local markets, looked at the shops, explored the streets, and observed the everyday life of the people. By evening, I was back at AMG Marg once again. The same place that looked calm and peaceful in the morning had completely changed. The lights came on, people filled the streets, shops became busy, and Gangtok slowly entered its beautiful nightlife. I walked around without any hurry. Sometimes, the best part of traveling is not visiting a famous place, but simply walking through an unfamiliar town and watching life happen around you. In the next day, I woke up early and reached the bus stand. While waiting for the bus, one thing caught my attention again: the cleanliness of Gangtok. Even in the early morning, the streets looked remarkably clean. I thought to myself, this is one of the things I will definitely remember about Sikkim. Finally, the bus arrived. I took my seat near the window, and the journey back to Siliguri began. This time, the journey itself became an adventure. I sat beside the window and watched the Himalayas slowly pass by. Deep valleys, flowing rivers, thick forests, winding mountain roads, small villages, houses on the hillsides, and people going about their daily lives all appeared one after another. I realized that traveling through the Himalayas is not only about seeing mountains. It is about seeing life, the life of the people, their villages, their culture, their connection with nature, and the way they live among these magnificent mountains. As the bus slowly descended towards Siliguri, I could feel the journey coming to an end. By evening, I finally reached Siliguri. Suddenly, I could feel a difference. The quiet, clean, and peaceful atmosphere of Gangtok was slowly disappearing. Now, another journey was waiting for me, Siliguri to Kolkata.